Hello, Lafayette Lions. This is Mr. Nichols, and today we are going to work on telling time to the nearest minute. Let's review some of the clock parts. Clocks have three hands. The minute hand, which counts the minutes. This hand will touch those numbers. Then we have the hour hand. This hand counts the hours. And one way to tell these two hands apart is I can remember that the word minute has more letters than hour. It is longer than the word hour, so the minute hand is longer than the hour hand. And we also have the second hand. This hand moves quickly around the clock. It counts the seconds. Every time it makes one trip around the clock, that is 60 seconds. That'll make this minute hand move ahead just one notch because there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. Let's take a look at this clock. Now notice, as the minute hand moves around the clock, the hour hand is going to move along with it. These two hands are always working together. So as the minute hand moves, the hour hand is moving closer to the next hour. And as it gets closer to the next hour, it's going to almost point to that next number. And once we are close to that 12, it's going to look like it's almost pointing to the next number. So be very careful when it gets over in this area. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a few minutes. First, let's start small. When we read a clock, we want to start by looking at the hour hand. We're going to read the number the hand is pointing to. So in this case, the hour hand, is pointing to the 3. But most of the time, the hour hand is not going to point directly at a number. It's usually going to be between two numbers. If the hour hand is past the number, you always want to go back to the last number it was on. So in this case, it's past the 3, but not to the 4 yet. So we'd still consider that pointing to the 3. And be very careful, and I mentioned this earlier. When this minute hand gets almost to that next hour or close to that 12, or usually anywhere between the 10 and the 12, this hour hand is going to look like it's pointing to the next hour. It's not quite there yet because it's not pointed to the 4 because the minute hand is not at the 12 yet. So we still want to go back to the last hour, which would be the 3. So remember, each line is worth 1 minute. So as this minute hand goes around, every one of these little notches or dashes are going to count by 1. When this minute hand goes all the way around, it's going to count a whole hour because there are 60 minutes in an hour. This minute hand is pointing at the 4. It's 4 minutes past the hour. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you remember yesterday's lesson, you learned telling time to the nearest 5 minutes. When this minute hand is pointing at a number, as we go around the clock, we can count these numbers by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Or I could think 10 times 5 is 50. So we can still use that even if the minute hand is not pointing directly at a number. So if I do that same method or that same trick and I go to the 10, I already know that if the minute hand is pointing at the 10, that's 50 minutes. Then I can count on after. So 51, 52, and 53. So it is 3:53. And that is our last step. We're going to write it all down. So I know the hour is 3. even though it's past the 3, not quite to the 4 yet, I go back to the 3. So I'm going to always write the hour first. I'm going to separate the hours and the minutes by these 2 dots, which are called a colon. And then I can write the minutes down. So I know this is 3:53. Now let's practice with a couple of these. Now remember what we said before. I want to start by looking at the hour hand. That's the smaller hand. If I look at this hour hand, I can see that it's past the 6, but it's not to the 7. So if we remember from before, that means I want to go back to the last hour, or the last number. So I know that it is 6 hours. I look at the minute hand, it's pointing to the 3. So remember, we can count these numbers when we're using the minute hand by 5. 5, 10, 15. So I can tell that it is 6:15. Let's check out this next one. I'm going to start with the hour hand. This time, it looks like it's pointing to the 12. My minute hand is not quite to the 1. I can count these dashes by 1 to figure out my minutes. I know it is 12. 1, 2, 3. It is 12:03. Try the next one on your own. Try to figure out what time it is and write it down on the paper and pause the video. Now that you've written down your number, let's look at the hour hand first. I can see that it's past the 3, but it's not to the 4 yet. So I go back to that number. It's still 3. I look at my minute hand, the longer hand. It's almost to the 5, but not quite there. I could count each one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way till I get to that minute hand. Or I could count these by 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, and now I need to count on by ones. 21, 22, 23, 24. It is 3:24. Try this next one. Pause your video, write it down, and then come back and hit play. We're going to start with the hour hand. It's getting pretty close to that 10, but it's not quite there. I need to go back to the last number. 9. Now I can work on my minutes. The minute hand is pointing past the 8. I can count these numbers by 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 41. So it is 9:41. Now, if you have trouble counting by 5s, you can count these all by 1 until you get to that minute hand. So I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep going all the way until I get to that minute hand. Let's look at this next one, and be careful. This one is tricky. Pause your video and go ahead and try this. All right, so if we look at this, the hour hand is pointing almost to that 11. But be careful, because in one more minute, then it's 11 o'clock. But right now, we need to make sure we go back to the last number, so it's still 10. And then if we count by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Count on by ones, 56, 57, 58, 59. It's 10:59. So if you got that right, you are already a clock reading expert. Go ahead and try the questions below on your own.